Hi everyone, my name's Niamh O'Kane and I am a researcher based in the Centre for Public Health, Queen's University Belfast, and I'm here today to tell you about the GENIUS network, GENIUS being Generating Excellent Nutrition in UK Schools, which is a project that I worked on as a postdoctoral research fellow. So firstly, do let me apologise that we have sent through a recording today. However, neither myself nor Jane could make it in person, or rather virtually this morning. But if you have any questions or queries after hearing me talk, please do feel free to get in touch with us via email or social media. So onto the GENIUS network, the overall aim of which was to build a community working towards a more health promoting food and nutrition system in UK schools. So to set the scene, the National Diet and Nutrition Survey indicates that children's diets in the UK are too high in saturated fat, low in fruit and veg, and low in fibre. And in fact, only 8% of UK 11 to 18-year-olds are meeting the 5-a-day guideline with socioeconomic differentials. The challenge is also clearly illustrated by these latest data from the National Child Measurement Programme, where the impact of the recent global pandemic on overweight and obesity is clearly illustrated, with widening socioeconomic differentials. So set against this background, the GENIUS network set out to build a network of researchers and non-academic stakeholders working within the UK food and school systems. So how we aim to do this was through facilitating interactions, new interactions that didn't currently exist, building research capacity across the UK, gathering data regarding the school food system across the UK, using innovative research methodologies to understand how the school food system operates, identifying areas of best practice that may lead to more evidence-based practice and policies in relation to school food, and co-producing with project partners and stakeholders key priorities, and using pump priming funds to support data collection and develop larger scale funding applications co-produced with decision makers and users. So what I'm aiming to do today is to describe our progress on GENIUS against these different aims and include some interpretation of what this may mean for yourselves. So our major efforts around understanding the school food system has been based around conducting the School Food Survey, and this was developed by the School Food Review Working Group, which was made up of leading practitioners and campaigners working to improve school food and GENIUS. And we developed 2 surveys with versions for those involved in operational matters and other stakeholders and users. So the surveys were up around June to September 2021, and we collected just over 1,200 responses from participants, which captured views from a wide range of stakeholders. So the findings from the survey contributed to a number of different projects within and across GENIUS, and including the groundwork for co-producing research priorities. So as mentioned in the aims at the beginning, we set out to co-produce with project partners and stakeholders key priorities in terms of research questions. So I'll now go over this and about how we did this and our findings. So we followed a 7-step process, which was informed by the James Lind Alliance with the aim of producing these priorities with partners. So our school food survey gave us over 1,200 participants who answered questions about what they believed to be important in terms of future research. We used that and developed from these 136 research questions, which fell under 16 themes. So then we disseminated another survey specifically looking at these research questions. We had just over 100 participants respond to this survey, and from the survey we were able to whittle these research questions down to sort of the top 19 research questions we believe to be important. Then we ran an online workshop with help from the James Lind Alliance with 30 participants, and from this then we were able to rank our 18 top research priorities and identified the top 10. So this is a view of our top 10 research priorities. So just to even take a step further back and say that these questions are questions that stakeholders believed should be prioritised in future research, meaning, we may not necessarily have the answers to these, but this is where our efforts should focus on in the future. And I won't read out every research question here, but you can have a quick glance at the different research priorities, but you can see that they covered a number of different topics, including subsidisation of school means, implementation of policy and food standards, leadership, inequalities, social norms, and nutrition. So hopefully you'll have a chance to look back at this and maybe pause and get a good read. So what do our research priorities mean for schools? Well, these 10 priorities were identified, and teachers had a really important role amongst other school and staff stakeholders to identify these priorities. And this research will help to guide policymakers, researchers, and others in terms of identifying areas related to school food that are potentially the most important to focus on and are likely to make the biggest difference to people's diets, health, and well-being within a school food setting. So within our aims was the use of innovative research methodologies to understand how the school food system operates, and one of the ways that we did this was through implementing a systems mapping method. So we aimed to produce a comprehensive and visual overview of the factors driving food choice in a secondary school food setting. So what this looked like was a pre-workshop survey amongst school stakeholders. So we asked school stakeholders to identify factors that they believed drive food choice within the secondary school food system. So what impacts what a child eats within the school day. These responses were collated and categorised, and then we ran a group model building workshop online with 13 school stakeholders. So from our survey, we were able to say, okay, well, these are all of the different factors that have been identified. And in the online survey, we then said, okay, let's interactively produce this map using online systems mapping software and identify the relationships between these factors. And you'll see on the next slide what that looks like. Then we had our a draft map, which we then brought to 2 secondary schools across NI, which captured the views of 17 pupils, and we asked them to think about whether the map accurately represented the full food system for them, for their peers, and for their school. And we made some changes based on feedback from the wonderful pupils who we had in our workshops. And then finally, we circulated the final map with stakeholders for comment, which had some minor changes to it as well. So you're looking here at our final systems map of the secondary school food setting. So in the middle here, I'm just going to talk through, there's a color code, but it seems quite small, so I'll talk through quickly. So in the middle here, we have healthier food choice at school, and that is our outcome variable in yellow. Then our orange circles here, so each circle is representing a factor, and the lines are showing relationships. The arrows on the lines are the direction of potential influence, which could be positive or negative, but I'll talk about that in the next slide. So our orange factors here are sort of around catering and procurement. We have our light blue, which is school leadership and governance-based things. We have our green, which is social experience, behaviours and attitudes, or sort of blue-green teal colour, which is the food space and experience in school. The purple is priority of food within schools, and red is financial, whether that be school food finances or home finances. So I mentioned that the lines are representing relationships between these factors, and the arrows denote the direction of influence that is possible within these factors. And you'll see that there are little positive or negative signs on these arrows, and that implies that an increase or improvement in factor A will result in an improvement or increase in factor B. So this helps us to visualize, demonstrate the potential systemic benefits of intervention within one factor and the potential domino effects that things can have. So for example, school leadership commitment to school food, an improvement in that may lead to an improvement in school food culture. This is also really useful for identifying any positive feedback loops that would identify sort of a reinforcing cycle of things that can continue to benefit the school. So for example, say we have our improved commitment to school food, it may result in a more positive school food culture. This may harbour an environment that the knowledge and skills of food among catering and school staff are prioritised and are improved or are really good quality, which there can help with policy implementation and nutritional standard compliance, which can then further improve the school food culture, and the cycle goes on and on. So that's a positive feedback loop identified within the map. So what does this mean for schools and for yourselves? Well, our map demonstrates the complexity of the school food system, which I'm sure you're very well aware of, and the many different factors at play. And this research can be used, as I say, to help visualise the impacts of changes made within the school food system, so that you know that a change doesn't just impact the factor itself, but it might impact other factors within the system. So next we have our pump priming. So in terms of building future capacity and sustaining the network, we funded a number of pump priming projects, and the hope is that this will lead to larger funding for schools-based research. So there were a set of specific guidelines with the aim of providing, as you say, small-scale research projects. An independent panel reviewed against a set criteria, and 4 projects were awarded around £7,000 each. And to give you some visualization of where these projects were, in Ulster University, we had a pilot feasibility study looking at the effectiveness of a peer-led school-based intervention. In Wolverhampton, we had a secondary school food policy approaches across the UK. In Birmingham, we had a qualitative study looking at acceptability and feasibility of choice architecture to promote healthy dietary choices. And in Dundee, there was an assessment of the role of parental networks on uptake of school meals. And as I say, the hope is that these small projects will encourage further funding into larger projects in the future. So obviously we wanted to know whether we'd been successful in actually building a network. So to do this, we again employed similar methods to mapping the school food system, and we mapped the Genius network itself. So we wanted to visualise the interactions and engagements and provide some indication of success in terms of forming new relationships and collaborations, which was our very first aim. So we again involved surveys, so we disseminated an online survey among the named investigators from the Genius proposal. So we had a sort of closed system of respondents. We asked the participants to identify the other named individuals who they engage with and estimate how long they'd been working with them with regards to school food. And again, we used online mapping software, and we mapped the network, and we looked at the duration of relationships as well. So just to give you a nice visual of what this might look like, it's a shame Jane can't be here to present this because that's her lovely smiling face in the middle of the slide. So each element or circle is a named individual from the proposal. Again, we have our lines which represent our relationships, and the arrows indicate simply which person nominated the relationship, they indicated the engagement. The size of image depends on the degree of the individual, and really this just means the number of connections. So naturally, as the principal investigator of Genius Network, Jane had the highest number of connections, which is why her lovely face is so big in the middle of the slide. But you can see it's really helpful in getting a sort of visual idea of what the network looked like, and where the connections lie, and indeed where there are no connections, i.e. no collaborations. So for example, just to give you an idea of when this might be useful, let's say that we wanted to engage with the Department of Education on a project or a proposal. The map can help us identify who has an existing relationship with them, and possibly more importantly, identify who doesn't have a relationship with them, and identify there then where there's scope to include new collaborators or work with new people on different projects. So we also asked these named co-Is how long they had been engaging with other individuals, or how long the relationship had lasted, and just over half of the relationships that were identified were made within the timeline of the Genius project. So from this we hope that this implies that the Genius Network was a success in terms of building new collaborations among academics and non-academics in the school food research area. So to highlight some other key achievements, we were successful in securing some grant funding, which there's a variety on screen. Just to highlight Connects Food, which is the Connects Food study, or the co-design systems intervention impacting whole school approaches to food, I think is the full name, which aim to design a practical intervention to help primary schools deliver existing policies which promote whole school approaches to food. So there is an online live website for Connects Food, which you can Google and have a look at that, which is really useful. We also have engaged with the Nutrition Society special interest groups and the UKSBM, the UK Society for Behavioural Medicine special interest group. We have our social media and our website. We have a small but loyal following on social media, and we're still active on Twitter, so please do give us a follow and you can find out more information or opportunities for getting involved. And again, also some engagements from the network across the all-party parliamentary group on school food Plan Alliance, and the Global Research Consortium for School Health and Nutrition. Oh, and there's some lovely photos. So we wanted to ask not just our co-Is, the people named on the proposal, but everyone who was within the network, or the members of Genius, in terms of maybe we sent it out to the mailing list, the email mailing list, for example. So we circulated another survey. We're a big fan of surveys, and we gathered 39 responses, valid responses. So just under 70% of respondents in that survey agreed that the Genius Network helped them to develop new relationships or collaborations within the area of school food. And we also asked individuals to identify the most useful opportunities that they found as members, and from that we learned that people most valued interacting and networking with individuals in roles and institutions similar to and also different from their own, and accessing new resources, information, knowledge, expertise and training. So a lot of the research that we do around school food quite literally wouldn't be possible without the support from teachers and other school staff that we're always very grateful for, in terms of the time, the interest and the effort that teachers have shown. And I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight 2 further opportunities for contribution based on work that we're either currently doing or developing. So this is the first, which we are looking for individual teachers but also schools, and this is to help us evaluate free school meals in secondary schools. So you'll be invited to informal meetings, asked to give your opinion, and to help us make research more meaningful and impactful. So if your school, or you indeed yourself, is interested in taking part in this study, please do get in touch with Jane Woodside or Desiree Schliemann, who is the 2 main researchers on the project. So get in touch with them if you are interested. There is also a second opportunity, which is a current live survey. I did promise that we like surveys, which is looking for thoughts and experiences on educating food and nutrition, and that's even if you don't teach it right now. So it's a 15-minute survey, and there's also a chance to win some gift vouchers with that as well. So you can access that by going to redcap.link/food education, and we've also tweeted that from the Genius Twitter, so if you're struggling to find it, you can go through and find the link there. So the initial funding period for Genius has just ended. We're in the process of planning how to continue the network activities, and to help us do that, we are holding an event on the 7th of March online at 2 to 4 p.m. and I understand that is within the school day, but if you can come along, you are very welcome to join. It's essentially to have a very informal chat, hear from a couple of people on some topics. Jane will be speaking at that, and opportunities to share your views and what you might benefit from in the future from the Genius Network, and how it will be continuing on as a special interest group under the Nutrition Society. So if you're interested in coming along to that, please do get in touch via email. We can send you on the link, and again you can register for it by following a tweet on our Twitter, I believe, if you're struggling to find the information. So finally, just a quick acknowledgement of thanks to the UK Prevention Research Partnership as funders of the Genius Network, and indeed a final thanks to those who have contributed to our research over the years, including the fantastic schools and the wonderful teachers and pupils that we've had the pleasure of working with. So just a very final thank you from me. Thank you for listening. I again apologise that I can't be there in person or virtually in person. But if there are any questions based on anything I've discussed, you can get in touch with the Genius team directly with the email on screen, or follow us on Twitter. And if there's any questions directly for me based on what I have spoken about, then please do by all means get in touch with me, and my email and Twitter is on screen as well. So thank you very much. Again, I hope you're all having a nice day and continue to enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.